The battle you think you're fighting for success, for love, for recognition, for peace is like throwing punches at your own shadow. You keep swinging at an opponent that doesn't exist, exhausting yourself in a fight that was never real to begin with. You've created such an elaborate training camp for your eventual victory that you've turned preparation into a prison. Every time victory knocks on your door, you tell it to wait while you get ready. But readiness is a myth invented by fear to keep courage waiting in the hallway. In the depths of night, a caterpillar begins its final transformation. Not once does it question whether it deserves wings. Not for a moment does it wonder if it's qualified to become a butterfly. It simply surrenders to the wisdom that's encrypted in its DNA, knowing at a cellular level that flight is its destiny. Right now, in this very moment, you're in your own cocoon of transformation. You've been fighting battles that have left invisible scars, carrying burdens that no one else can see. You've been preparing, planning, waiting for the perfect moment to spread your wings. But what if I told you that the battle you're fighting has already been won? That thought stops most people in their tracks. It challenges everything we've been taught about struggle and success, about earning our victories, about paying our dues. We become so accustomed to the weight of our struggles that we've forgotten what it feels like to be light. Tonight, we're going to explore a truth so profound it might shake the very foundation of how you view your life's challenges. The victory you seek isn't waiting for you in some distant future. It's already here, already yours, already complete. Are you ready to claim it? Every morning, millions of people wake up and put on their armor, preparing for battles that only exist in their minds. They fortify themselves against failure, shield themselves from rejection, and guard against disappointment. They're so busy defending themselves that they miss the peace treaty that's been sitting on their desk all along. Let me share something with you about success and struggle. We've been taught that these two are inseparable companions, that one must struggle to succeed. But what if struggle was just a story we've been telling ourselves? What if it was possible to succeed simply by aligning ourselves with the success that's already ours? There's a person who wanted to start a business for 20 years. For 2 decades, they collected business plans, attended seminars, read every book on entrepreneurship they could find. When asked why they hadn't started yet, they said, "I'm waiting until I'm the truth." They were ready 20 years ago. The successful business owner was already within them, waiting to be acknowledged. The moment they started acting as if their business was already successful, making decisions from that place of certainty, treating their time like it was precious, valuing their ideas as if they were gold, everything shifted. Within 6 months, they had a thriving enterprise, not because they finally learned enough, but because they finally aligned with the truth that was already there. This isn't about positive thinking or manifesting or wishful dreaming. This is about a fundamental principle of the universe. Energy follows thought and action follows energy. When you act from the place of victory, rather than toward it, you tap into a power that transcends ordinary human capability. Your life right now is a perfect reflection of how you've been acting. Not of what you've been wanting or hoping for or dreaming about, but of how you've been acting. If you're acting from a place of scarcity, you'll see scarcity everywhere. If you're acting from a place of victory, you'll find evidence of victory in every corner of your life. We're all carrying around an old story, a narrative that's been playing on repeat in our minds for so long we've forgotten it's just a story. Maybe it's the story of not being good enough or smart enough or worthy enough. Maybe it's the story of having to struggle to succeed or having to prove yourself to be loved. The set that will set you free. Those stories are just that, stories. They're not prophecies. They're not prison sentences. They're not your destiny. They're just stories you've been telling yourself for so long that they've started to feel like truth. What would your life look like if you dropped those stories right now? What decisions would you make if you truly believed that your victory was already secured? How would you move through your day if you knew, really knew, that everything you desire is already yours? When you act from this place of knowing, something miraculous happens. The universe begins to reorganize itself to match your actions. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. The darkness doesn't gradually fade away, it vanishes instantly. The light was always there, waiting for you to flip the switch. Your power, your potential, your victory They're like that light switch. They're not something you need to build or create or earn. They're already there, waiting for you to claim them. The only question is, are you ready to stop preparing for a battle that's already been won? Think about every challenge you've overcome in your life, every obstacle you've faced, every mountain you've climbed. Your track record for surviving difficult times is perfect. You've made it through every single bad day, every heartbreak, every set. Yet somehow, when facing new challenges, we forget this impeccable track record. The world is full of people waiting for permission to live their lives fully. They're waiting for the perfect moment, the right circumstances, the final piece of the puzzle. But life isn't a waiting room. It's a dance floor. And the music is already playing. Let me tell you about something that happens in nature that perfectly illustrates this principle. When an eagle builds its nest high up in a tree, it creates a comfortable, safe environment for its eaglets. But when it's time for the young eagles to fly, the mother eagle doesn't organize a flying seminar. She doesn't create a PowerPoint presentation about proper wing technique. Instead, she begins to systematically dismantle the nest. She removes the comfortable branches and soft feathers that made the nest such a safe haven. Why? Because she knows that comfort is the enemy of growth. She knows that her eaglets already have everything they need to soar. They just don't know it. Many of us are like those eaglets, clinging to our comfortable nests, even as they're falling apart around us. We're holding on to situations, relationships, and beliefs that no longer serve us simply because they're familiar. We're refusing to spread our wings because we're afraid of the empty space below us. Here's what the eagle knows that we often fake. The same air that seems empty and frightening is exactly what will provide the lift beneath our wings. The very thing we fear is what will enable us to soar. Right now, your life is dismantling some comfortable nest. Those challenges you're facing, they're not punishments, they're not obstacles, they're invitations. Every difficulty, every setback, every moment of discomfort is the universe's way of saying it's time. You're ready. Spread your wings. But we resist. We negotiate. We try to rebuild our comfortable nests even as they're falling apart. We say things like, I'll start when I have more money, or I'll change when the kids are older, or I'll follow my dreams after I retire. We treat our lives like rough drafts, always waiting for the perfect moment to start living the final version. There's no final version. There's no perfect moment. There's only now, and the question of whether you'll act from victory or from fear. When you act as if your invisible battle's already been won, you stop looking for evidence of your inadequacy and start finding proof of your magnificence. You stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, how can I serve? You stop wondering if you're ready and start living as if you've already arrived. This shift in perspective changes everything. It changes how you walk into a room. It changes how you speak to yourself. It changes how you handle challenges when you really know that your victory is already secured. Fear loses its grip on you. Doubt becomes background noise. Criticism bounces off you like rain off a window. Think about a time when you were absolutely certain about something. Maybe it was your love for someone, or your passion for a particular cause, or your knowledge about a specific subject. Remember how differently you moved through the world with that certainty. That's not confidence. That's alignment with truth. Now, some of you might be thinking, but what about reality? What about my current circumstances? What about my past failures? These are important questions, but they're asking about the wrong timeline. Your past failures don't determine your future victories any more than your morning dictates your entirety. Your circumstances are not your sentence, they're your starting point. They're not predictions of your future. They're just snapshots of where you are right now. And where you are right now is perfect, because it's exactly where you need to be to take the next step. When you act as if your battle is already won, you stop fighting with your current reality and start using it as a springboard. You stop seeing obstacles as barriers and start seeing them as stepping stones. You stop treating your challenges as punishment and start recognizing them as preparation. Said a disaster was once a disaster. Every expert was once a beginner. Every success story includes chapters of failure. But here's what separates those who achieve their dreams from those who don't. The achievers act as if their success is inevitable, while the others act as if their failure is inevitable. Your actions are like votes for the kind of person you want to become. Every time you act from fear, you're voting for limitation. Every time you act from victory, you're voting for expansion. And just like in any election, the one with the most votes wins. But here's the beautiful thing. I don't do no not even you counting. You don't need to convince anyone else to vote for your victory. You just need to start casting your own votes consistently, deliberately, and with absolute conviction. When you act as if your battle is already won, you become a magnet for opportunities. People are naturally drawn to those who move with certainty. Resources flow toward those who act from abundance. Doors open for those who walk as if they already have the most profound transformations in life often begin with a simple decision. The decision to stop waiting and start being. But we've been conditioned to believe that transformation must be difficult, that change must be painful, that growth must involve struggle. Consider a seed breaking through concrete. We often focus on the struggle, the force required to crack through that hard surface. But the seed doesn't view it as a struggle. It's simply expressing its nature, following its internal programming to grow toward the light. The concrete isn't an obstacle, it's just part of the journey. Your challenges, your setbacks, your moments of doubt, they're not obstacles to your victory. They're stepping stones. They're the concrete that your inner seed is breaking through, not because it's trying to prove anything, but because growing is simply what seeds do. We spend so much time trying to become something, forgetting that we already are everything we're trying to become. It's like waves in the ocean trying to become water. They already are water. Their waveness is just a temporary expression of their waterness. Your struggles, your doubts, your fears, they're just temporary expressions of your deeper truth. They're waves on the surface of your consciousness. But beneath those waves, in the depths of your being, there's an unshakable knowing, a permanent victory that can never be taken from you. Let me share something powerful about the nature of transformation. When water reaches its boiling point, it doesn't gradually become steam. It transforms instantly. One moment it's water, the next it's steam. There's no in-between state. This is how real transformation works. It's not gradual. It's immediate. It happens the moment you decide to stop acting from fear and start acting from victory. But we've been taught to distrust immediate transformation. We've been conditioned to believe that change must be gradual, that we must earn our victories step by step. This is why so many of us are stuck in perpetual preparation mode, always getting ready to live instead of actually living. What if you decided, right here, right now, to stop preparing and start being? What if you chose to act as if the battle you've been fighting was already won? What would change in your life in this very moment? Would you still worry about what others think of you if you knew your victory was already secured? Would you still doubt your abilities if you knew success was already yours? Would you still hold back your love, your creativity, your gifts if you knew they were exactly what the world needs right now? The truth is, most of our battles exist only in our minds. We're fighting shadows, wrestling with imaginary opponents, defending ourselves against attacks that exist only in our fears. Meanwhile, our real life, the life we're meant to be living, is waiting patiently for us to notice it. Think about this. Every great achievement in human history began with someone acting as if something impossible was already possible. Every invention, every breakthrough, every transformation started with someone refusing to accept the limitations of their current reality. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for conditions to be perfect. They didn't wait for everyone to agree with them. They simply acted as if their vision was already real, as if their victory was already secured. This isn't about denying reality or ignoring challenges. It's about choosing which reality you're going to align yourself with, the temporary reality of your current circumstances or the permanent reality of your inherent victory. When you act as if your battle is already won, you stop seeking validation from others. You stop needing external confirmation of your worth. You stop requiring perfect conditions before taking action. Instead, you start moving through life with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their true nature. This isn't arrogance. It's alignment. It's not about puffing yourself up or pretending to be something you're not. It's about stripping away everything that isn't truly you until all that's left is your authentic, victorious self. Think of it like this. When clouds cover the sun doesn't stop shining. It doesn't try harder to penetrate the clouds. It doesn't doubt its ability to provide light and warmth. It simply continues being what it is, knowing that the clouds are temporary, but its nature is permanent. Your fears, your doubts, your insecurities, they're just clouds passing through the sky of your consciousness. They don't change who you are. They don't diminish your power. They don't negate your victory. They're temporary visitors in the permanent home of your being. But here's where most people get stuck. They keep waiting for the clouds to clear before they start shining. They keep waiting for their fears to disappear before they start living. They keep waiting for their doubts to vanish before they start creating. The real breakthrough comes when you realize that you can shine anyway, and you can act from victory even while feeling fear. You can move forward even while experiencing doubt. You can create even when you don't feel ready. Living from this understanding changes everything. It transforms every moment into an opportunity to express your inherent victory rather than a challenge to overcome. It turns every interaction into a chance to demonstrate what's possible rather than a test to pass. Think about how children learn to walk. They don't attend walking seminars. They don't read books about proper walking technique. They don't wait until they're certain they won't fall. They simply get up and move toward what interests them. Each fall is not a failure, but a natural part of the learning process. They act as if walking is their natural state. And because of this, it soon becomes exactly that. We lost this natural wisdom as adults. We've become so focused on avoiding falls that we've forgotten how to rise. We've become so concerned with looking good that we've forgotten how to be good. We've become so worried about failing that we've forgotten how to succeed. But what if you decided to approach your life like a child learning to walk? What if you saw each setback not as a failure, but as a natural part of your victory story? What if you treated each fall not as proof of your inadequacy, but as evidence? The truth is, you've never failed at anything in your life. You've only succeeded in producing results, some that you wanted and some that you didn't. But each result has brought you closer to your ultimate victory, even if you couldn't see it. Every relationship that didn't work out taught you more about love. Every business venture that didn't succeed taught you more about creation. Every goal that wasn't reached taught you more about persistence. These weren't failures. They were essential chapters in your victory story. When you act as if your battle is already won, you stop seeing your past as something to overcome and start seeing it as something that has perfectly prepared you for this moment. You stop trying to fix yourself and start expressing yourself. You stop trying to become worthy and start recognizing the worth that's already there. This shift in perspective changes how you handle every situation in your life, right? When challenges arise, and they will, you don't meet them with fear and resistance. You meet them with the calm certainty of someone who knows their victory is assured. Think about how differently you'd handle your current challenges if you really knew that they were simply stepping stones to your already secured victory. Would you still resist them so strongly? Would you still fear them so much? Would you still let them stop you from moving forward? The battle you think you're fighting for success, for love, for recognition, for peace, it's already been won at the deepest level of reality. Your job isn't to win it again. Your job is to align your actions with this truth. When you do this, something remarkable happens. The very challenges that once seemed like obstacles become opportunities. The very people who once seemed like opponents become allies. The very situations that once seemed like problems. This isn't magical thinking. It's not about denying reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing which level of reality you're going to operate from the surface level of temporary circumstances or the deeper level of permanent truth. At the surface level, things might look challenging. You might face opposition. You might encounter setbacks. You might experience doubt. But at the deeper level, your victory is already complete. Your success is already assured. Your worth is already established. The question isn't whether you'll achieve victory. The question is whether you align yourself with the victory that's already yours. Will you act from that deeper truth, or will you continue to be swayed by surface appearances? When you act from victory rather than toward it, you bring a different energy to everything you do. You no longer need to prove yourself because you know who you are. You no longer need to defend yourself because you know your worth isn't in question. You no longer need to protect yourself because you know your victory isn't at risk. This is the key to transforming every area of your life. Whether you're dealing with relationships, career, health, or personal growth, the principle remains the same. Act as if your victory is already secured and watch as reality reorganizes itself to match your actions. This moment right now is a pivotal point in your journey, not because you need to make something happen, but because you're finally ready to recognize what's already true. Every step that has brought you here, every triumph, every setback, every joy, every heartbreak has been preparing you for this recognition. The power you're seeking isn't something you need to acquire. It's something you need to uncover. It's like a sculptor working with marble. The sculpture isn't created by adding something to the marble. It's revealed by removing everything that isn't the sculpture. In the same way, victory isn't something you need to create. It's something you need to reveal by removing everything that isn't victory. The doubts, the fears, the limiting beliefs, the old stories that no longer serve you. When you truly understand this, your entire approach to life changes. You stop trying to get somewhere and start expressing where you already are. You stop trying to become something and start being what you already are. You stop trying to win and start living from victory. This understanding transforms how you handle every aspect of your life. In relationships, you stop trying to earn love and start expressing the love that's already within you. In your career, you stop trying to prove your worth and start demonstrating your inherent. In your personal growth, you stop trying to fix yourself and start revealing your authentic self. Think about how this understanding would change your daily experiences. When you wake up in the morning, instead of gearing up for another day of battle, you'd arise with the peaceful certainty of someone who knows their victory is assured. When you face challenges, instead of seeing them as threats to overcome, you'd recognize them as opportunities to demonstrate your inherent power. This isn't about ignoring problems or denying difficulties. It's about approaching them from a different level of consciousness. When you act as if your battle is already won, you bring a different quality of energy to every situation. You bring solutions instead of problems. You bring peace instead of conflict. You bring possibility instead of limitation. Consider how this would transform your relationships. Instead of trying to get love, approval, or recognition from others, you'd approach each interaction from a place of fullness, offering your gifts freely because you know your worth isn't dependent on how they're received. In your work, instead of trying to prove yourself or compete with others, you'd focus on expressing your unique contributions, knowing that your success isn't measured by comparison but by authenticity. You'd pursue excellence, not to earn value, but to express the value that's already there. In your personal development, instead of trying to become someone different, you'd focus on revealing more of who you truly are. You'd embrace challenges not as tests to pass, but as opportunities to express your inherent capabilities. This shift in perspective changes everything. It changes how you handle stress, how you approach obstacles, how you deal with setbacks. When you know your victory is assured, stress becomes excitement. Obstacles become opportunities and setbacks become setup. But it isn't just about you. When you act from victory, you give others permission to do the same. Your example becomes a living demonstration of what's possible. Your peace becomes contagious. Your certainty becomes inspiring. Think about the ripple effects this could have. How many lives could be touched by your decision to live from victory rather than toward it? How many others might be inspired to claim their own power by watching you claim yours? Every great movement in history began with individuals who dared to act as if change was already accomplished. Every significant transformation started with someone who refused to wait for permission to be who they truly were. You are part of this lineage of transformation. Your decision to act from victory rather than fear, to live from truth rather than appearance, to move from certainty rather than doubt. This decision has the power to influence countless lives. But this influence doesn't come from trying to change others. It comes from being so firmly grounded in your own truth that others can't help but recognize their own truth in your presence. It comes from living so authentically that others are inspired to do the same. When you act as if your battle's already won, you create a field of possibility around you. People feel it when they're in your presence. They sense the peace that comes from knowing rather than hoping. They recognize the power that comes from being rather than trying. This is your invitation to step into this truth. Not gradually, not eventually, but right now. This is your moment to stop preparing for victory and start living from it. To stop waiting for permission and start expressing your inherent power. To stop fighting battles that only exist in your mind and start living from the peace that's already yours. The butterfly doesn't need to be taught to fly. The seed doesn't need to be taught to grow. The sun doesn't need to be taught to shine, and you don't need to be taught to be victorious. It's who you already are. That you act from this truth. Will you line your actions with your inherent victory? Will you stop waiting for evidence and start being the evidence? Your battle has already been won. Your victory is already complete. Your power is already present. The time for preparation is over. The time for living from truth is now. As we conclude this evening, I want you to take a moment to feel the truth of what we've explored together. Feel the power that comes from knowing rather than hoping. Feel the peace that comes from being rather than trying. Feel the joy that comes from expressing rather than seeking. This is your truth. This is your power. This is your victory. And it always has been. Let this understanding guide your steps forward. Let it inform your decisions. Let it shape your actions. Let it transform your life. For when you act as if your invisible battle has already been won, you tap into a power that transcends all apparent limitations. You access a wisdom that surpasses all acquired knowledge. You express a truth that transforms all temporary circumstances. This is your moment. This is your truth. This is your victory. Thank you for sharing this journey of understanding. May you walk forward from this moment, not as someone seeking victory, but as someone expressing the victory that's already yours. Stand tall. Walk proud. Live free. Your battle has already been won. Peace be with you all.